Hi, this is Sporty King, the master of listening, and I'm excited to be one of the 2020 Visionaries. We're six heart centered thought leaders and influencers based in the greater Charlotte area, excited to deliver our pandemic perspectives to help you keep it together while we're in this together, experiencing it differently. Today, I'll be talking to fellow visionary Dianne Chase. Hey Diane, what's happening?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Well, here we go with round three. Round one, we talked about navigating the new normal. Then we talked about the adjustments. Now we're going to talk about what are you doing to recommend, what are you recommending, and how are you helping your clients um, uh, see themselves through this pandemic and then thrive.
hmm Exactly. And, thrive is really where we want to focus, right?
Okay.
Right now, we feel in survival mode. Maslow's hierarchy is in full flare, right? But we're also getting to the point where we can start lifting up a little bit, lifting up out of the immediate crisis response that we're feeling, the fear and the trepidation and the uncertainty, and that all of those high emotional states that we find ourselves in, and we're still going through roller coasters during the day. At least I am, having moments where you feel like you're on a roll, and then it's like boom.
Mhm.
But just to be able to lift up and look at the long term. So we're in this for the long game, right? We're looking at how can we prepare now for future forward. What does that look like?
Mhm.
And so it's such an incredible opportunity right now because everything has been compressed. It's been the great leveler. We're all in the same boat.
Mhm.
And so how can we take this time where we're not being pulled in so many directions? We're being pulled in a lot of different directions, but
Mhm.
not as many. We're focusing on the, family, faith, work, staying financially, stable as much as possible. We're
Right.
trying to still do those, but we're trying to figure out how to use this time to innovate, to be more creative, to be smarter about what we do.
Mhm.
And maybe we want to completely rethink actually what we're doing. I
Mhm.
have talked to a couple of people who are just completely thinking about upending their career and taking it in a different direction.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity for us to be quiet. And as I teach in my crisis preparedness management communication, clarity comes from crisis.
Okay.
Crisis makes us focus and we figure out what are the priorities. And some people have come to the realization that struggling with their clients and trying to finish projects and especially entrepreneurs and people who have their own businesses, that constant struggle for business development and getting clients to move ahead and things like that is exhausting.
Mhm.
And their hobby has now actually become where they think they might take their career or their work in a new direction, which
Yeah,
is
let
really
that let
fascinating.
yeah, let that hobby really evolve into a passion.
Absolutely, that
Yeah.
you use for your financial well-being.
Yeah, and it's funny because even as you was, I love how you're using the word opportunity as you a couple of times, imagination, and then when you talk about priorities, I like to throw the adjectives in there. It's not just the priorities, but the concrete priorities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do you, what are you telling them about making those priorities concrete and
Right.
shifting them into the full focus?
Exactly. So writing things down is really important,
Okay.
and putting a framework around what success looks like, and look
Okay.
into using this time for professional development. So here are the skills I need to actually move forward with making this avocation my new vocation. Here's
Mm,
how I'm going to use the skills, expertise, and experiences I've had here to And, a lot of people are like, I hate that word pivot. Stop with the pivot. But to take a new direction, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so this is a time where you can get into all of those classes and the professional development, or just opening your mind to new things, to be more creative. This is such an excellent opportunity to be creative. And, however you want to define creative in your approach to working with clients, creative in the way you run your household, or creative in the way you communicate with others. And, you mentioned opportunity. So again, in my crisis training,
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese symbol for crisis is made up of two characters. One symbolizes danger, and the other symbolizes opportunity.
Okay.
And so, again, looking at the danger, but using that as an opportunity to excel, to learn and excel.
Mm-hmm. And you know me, I'm an acronym. I like danger.
Yeah, I know.
You have to do something. Okay.
Well, there you go. I love it. And you do have to do something. Mm-hmm. Just using this time, again, getting back to clarity.
Yes. And
what are we experiencing on a daily basis we can learn from going forward?
Yeah.
Is it the way we are dealing with our neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the way we're communicating with our kids? Is it how we structure our time, how we prioritize our time? And so, I'm passionate about my storytelling workshops, mm-hmm. because what it does is it makes us stop and think of the experiences we've had in our lives and how we grew from them, what we learned from them, and how we have evolved because of that. And sharing that knowledge with others creates connection. There's a neuroscience to storytelling where the brain, they do fMRIs, functional magnetic resonance imaging of the brain when someone's listening to a story, as opposed to a fact sheet or a PowerPoint presentation or, whatever it might be. And the entire brain engages, it lights up.
Yeah.
We process we're hardwired to tell stories and to listen to stories, and the brain lights up and it processes story and narrative faster and stores it longer.
Well, what about the people? I'm sorry, you're still explaining.
No, it's that emotional connection and that visual, that mental visual that our brain just takes in like a sponge.
Okay.
Give me a sheet of numbers, I'm gonna forget it. Tell me a story around those numbers and why I should care, and I remember your story, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I let you finish that point. I didn't mean to try to cut you off, but it makes my question even more relevant. What about those people who say, well, I'm not good at telling stories?
Right. And it does take
a couple of steps you might want to give them.
Right. It does take a skill. That's such a great point. It's not storytelling for storytelling's sake. It's not, storytelling at a dinner party where, it's for fun and comic relief or just interesting and can go on and on and on. It's storytelling with a purpose. Mm-hmm. So it's about having a specific purpose for your story, and that message has to be really, really clear. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you this story because, so I had this experience the other day in the grocery store, and so you have a human interaction. Mm-hmm. You've got me because I'm like, oh, what happened in the grocery store? And so whatever experience it is that you have had that you want to use to convey a business message. Mm-hmm. And it does take skill. It takes learning how to do that in a very short time, as 90 seconds to 2 minutes, because people's attention spans are short and they won't walk away with clarity. You have to clarity is king. Mm-hmm. And right now we need clarity. We don't need this fire hose of numbers and statistics and, data points. And here's the latest on, the numbers of this and that and the next thing and how many billions of dollars. And, put a narrative around it, put that in a story where I got, oh, I get it. That's why I should care about what you're telling me.
In fact, I remember when I took the training with you and how, for instance, that story about that scenario about the grocery store, how you showed us how if I could take myself to that feeling of what that interaction was with the other person, now I can have that feeling when I transpose my story into a business or professional analogy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And again, back to that neuroscience. So when we connect with a story, oxytocin is actually released in the brain, and that is the connection molecule.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trust building molecule, because I'm with you. I'm like, oh wow, I can picture you being in this situation, and I'm with you, and I've had that same feeling and that experience, and so all of a sudden I trust you because you've opened up on a personal level to tell me something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way you help people think differently, feel differently, do something differently. But you want them to think, feel, do, or know.
Mm-hmm.
Use a personal story, even if it's data driven, wrap it around a narrative so that people get it and they remember it. And so now we're all having these, once in a lifetime, I hope, first in a lifetime experiences in terms of moving through this pandemic, how it has turned our lives on, upside down. And writing these experiences down so we can look back and say, oh, I remember that day. I remember how I felt. There's a real important lesson in this I want to share with my colleague, or I want to share with my direct report, to get them to understand the importance of doing the right thing, the importance of always, being a role model, of always walking your talk, because I saw this happen. Supporting others. I saw this happen and it really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
All these moments in time right now where we can use them to, as we come through it, and then on the other side, everything will be changed. Nothing will be the same.
Right.
But we can use our experiences now, learn from them, and share them in the future.
And that's takes me back to one of the things you said earlier, the word pivot. I totally agree with the use of the word, because as you're talking about what goes on in our brain, we learn through repetition. And so, if you tell yourself that the word pivot is bothering you, then the word pivot is bothering you. But if you notice, that's what you're actually doing. And the reason I bring that up is because if there's someone who says, I'm not a storyteller, you're telling yourself a lot of stuff.
You're not. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
I think it was, who said that? Einstein? Somebody.
I thought it was the little boy with the engine.
Whoever said it. They were exactly right. It might have been Steve Jobs, for all I know. So some words top of mind right now in terms of what we're moving through and how we can learn from this and how we can thrive on the other side is improving our communication skills, because nothing good happens with poor communication. It just doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so let's get better at being authentic communicators. Mm-hmm. Let's be empathetic communicators. Let's be intentional, and let's be transparent.
And have you had a chance to help somebody with that during these?
Yes, in terms of kind of dialing them down a little bit in terms, hair on fire and go out and there's kind of this offense defense going on when people are in crisis mode, in crisis response mode. And so helping people dial down, focus, get clarity on the situation, and then what needs to happen to address the situation, but also to preserve reputation. So knee jerking is not the way to go.
You know what? Close us out on that reputation thing. I think that's a great place to flow us out of the situation.
What you do now will build your reputation or detract from it.
Okay.
Because we're all being put to the test. Back to crisis, danger, opportunity. The opportunity now is to shine, to be your best self.
Well, thank you for that. I think that's a great, like I said, great cherry to put on the cake as we walk out, because some of the buzzwords we're hearing resiliency a lot, but that, I think reputation is just a wonderful R word that we need to hear more often.
Great.
So thanks for your time, Dianne.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sporty.
Sure. And everybody, we like to thank you for tuning in with the 2020 Visionaries of Charlotte as we bring you our pandemic perspectives. You'll find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and you're looking at us from one of those avenues right now, but we're looking to obviously get that letter and this message out in as many sources as possible. So put your comments down there in the link, in the thread, and if there's a topic you'd like to get our opinions on, they're going to be 6 wonderful opinions because we think we're wonderful. We've got great reputation.
Well, we those perspectives, they're all different.
All right. So again, we want to be the calm in the storm for you and continue to help you get through this pandemic. So
exactly.
Thank you for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I went out. Bye.
Thanks.